I was online recently and I was looking for a way that you could connect the Apollo Twin to outboard gear. And there's a couple of good forums you can go on. I think actually on the UAD forum there is, if you have a look, there are some ways. It tells you how to connect it up, but I found that if you were a beginner and you didn't quite know what you were doing, it was a little bit hard to follow. So I thought I'd just make this video just to kind of simplify that a little bit. So what we're going to be doing today is connecting the line out of the Apollo Twin to a piece of outboard gear. In this case, the instrument input, which is just the input that I'm using, of the Space Echo, sending it out from the output of the Space Echo and then back to be re-recorded into input 2. So in this case, I'm going to be using examples of things that are already set up. I'm using a track that I recorded for a release I did recently. The song is called With Love. And we're going to be looking at putting a delay on the vocal track that's already been pre-recorded. So the first thing we need to do is to go into our cue outputs and change. I think normally it will be set like this, where line 3 and 4 will be set to mix, which if you do, I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. I think it means it's setting it out to like a monitor out, something along those lines, not exactly sure. But if you have it set up like that, then when you hook it into your outboard gear, then you'll get a feedback loop, and it will obviously not be good for the piece of outboard gear you're doing, because you're going to be hitting it with an extremely loud signal because it's going to keep feeding back. But also you're not going to get the desired effect that you want. So what you want to do is change line 3 and 4 to line 3 and 4, just like that. Okay, that's in this little cue outputs button. The next thing that we want to do is change this to a line option. You might have heard it click, but the piece of hardware is now turned over to a line input. So my channel 2 is now line level input, which is what you want for this type of gear, because it's a line level signal. And I'm just going to turn that up a little bit. Generally speaking, I don't know if this is the same with lots of different outboard gear, but this Space Echo in particular doesn't have an especially loud signal coming out of it, and I don't want a really loud signal coming out of it. I don't want to risk clipping. It's much easier to just record at a decent level and then turn it up later. So that's the reason behind that. I think originally on, you can either change this, either on your hardware itself, or you can change it here. I think I had it maybe set to like 41 decibels. I don't know if that's exactly perfect or not. Who knows? But you just do what you feel is right. So now we're going to move over into our DAW. I'm using Ableton, and I've got my main vocal here, and then I've also got an additional track. And the way that you're going to set that up is by opening up the preferences in your DAW. Depending on what it is, it's always going to be a little bit different. And you go into your input configuration. The way I've got this done is that I've named them. So my main recording input I've just called main in, and then the input that I'm just always going to have plugged in to the Space Echo is just Space Echo send. And the reason I'm doing that is just I'm most likely always going to have this on my desk, most likely always going to have this plugged in. If I want to change it, I can, but it just makes it a little bit easier to find it. And once you've done that, you can just hit OK. The other one is the output configuration. I think as default, or at least when I remember first setting this up, mono outputs and stereo outputs 3 and 4 were turned off. But you just click those on, and I know that I'm using my mono output 3, so in the column that says 3, I've just called it Space Echo. That's just so, once again, it's really easy to find. So now for the routing. What you're going to do is you're going to choose the track that you want to have echo on it, and then you are going to change it from external in's fine. What we want to do is we want to change, yes, here we go, the external out. So we choose external out here, and then we change it to 3 and 4. You can even, you want to change it just to 3, setting out a mono signal to the Space Echo. And then on the other track that we want, this is where we do some other things. This is where Ableton's routing comes in handy. We're going to take the audio signal coming external in. We're going to choose the Space Echo here, and then everything else can just sort of stay the same.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
And I'm going to go back all the way to the start. Oh, very important, turn on your outboard gear. Boop. Okay, so now it should be receiving a signal. I've already set all the levels on here, and I actually messed up the recording the first time I did this, so I already have the rate and the intensity kind of where I like it. I'm just going to leave it where it is. I'm going to go all the way back to the start, and I'm going to press record. So some wonderful echo going on there. For fun, I'm going to do a little... Okay, so that's just about enough. So you notice I did a couple of very, out there effects that I probably wouldn't realistically use, but we can listen back to those now. I'm going to set the external out back to the vocal group. This is already set to the vocal group, so when we listen to the two of these together, I can do, set this really low to begin with, and then slowly mix it in.
The only thing that I recall hearing was the sound of you leaving. The only thing that I recall hearing was the sound of you leaving. The only thing that I recall.
Okay, cool. So now in the context of the whole song, I can turn off my little solos here, and we can listen to it.
The only thing that I recall hearing was the sound of you leaving.
Okay, cool. In a nice little recap, you want to make sure that you set up the UAD console correctly, that you have the outputs sent to the right spot. You want to make sure that you have a line level signal in your DAW. You want to make sure that you don't do a goof like me, and when you are sending it, you send it to external out, and then you choose the space echo or whatever you have it set to, and then you have to make sure that you're also then recording the space echo back in. Record yourself on a new track, set your levels right, and then off you go. You can have a really, really great time and just enjoy your weekend doing recording. I don't know. You can enjoy your weekend, I suppose. I hope that was helpful. Hope you learned something. Hope you have a nice weekend. Look after yourself. Once you've done that, you can move into your DAW of choice. I have chosen Ableton because I am a failed rock musician who has turned to electronic music to really question what I'm doing with my life. Oh my god, that was so depressing.